President Vladimir Putin says Russia will wait for rock-hard evidence before deciding who carried out an alleged chemical weapons attack in Syria last month. He says all options remain on the table, but facts and international authorization should come before intervention. Joining me live with the details is RT's Sean Thomas. Hey there, Sean. What else did the president have to say?
Well, Vladimir Putin, in speaking with the Associated Press, strongly warned the West against unilateral action against Syria, and also said that if the United States has proof that chemical weapons were used by the Bashar al-Assad regime, then it must be presented to the UN Security Council. But the president did say that he's not against the idea of action and supports a possible resolution if it goes through proper legal international channels, and that would be the United Nations after a credible investigation. Listen to what he had to say about that.
Russia will be ready to take strong action if we have exact and unbiased information about who committed these crimes and what weapons were used. We will take a principled stand, as we firmly believe the use of weapons of mass destruction is a crime. But we think we should at least wait for the UN inspectors to give their report.
And speaking about the now famous video showing children having passed away, he says that this is indeed horrific video of children reportedly killed by chemical weapons in Syria. But he does say that there are questions about that video. It doesn't show who did the killing or how they were killed. It also said that there are claims that this video is provided by groups that have links to Al-Qaeda. Another thing he said that about these children, we don't see any doctors in the video. We don't see any parents. We don't know who they are. And this all needs to be investigated before any rash decisions are made. He also raised questions about what if it's shown by the UN evidence that it was in fact the Syrian rebels that used chemical weapons. He wasn't sure how the United States would react in that situation. Let's listen to what he had to say.
Certainly those pictures of dead children are just hideous, but they don't prove anyone's guilt. Even in the US, some experts think the evidence presented by the administration is not compelling. It's possible that the opposition staged a provocation in order to give their patrons an excuse for military intervention. But there is also another question. If there is evidence that it's the militants that have been using WMD, what will the US do to them? What will these sponsors do? Will they stop supplying weapons? Will they start hostilities against militants?
Now, keeping with this theme, the president restated his belief that he doesn't think that Assad had any reason to use illegal weapons or chemical weapons, stating that Bashar al-Assad is not desperate and that his army, the Syrian army, has been making significant advances and gains in the civil war. Now, speaking on the subject of the S-300 missile defense system, which Russia has contracts with the Syrian government, he said that some parts for that system were shipped, but they did freeze the majority of those contracts, but hinted at the fact that he might reconsider that if the West decides to get involved. Let's listen to his words.
We have supplied some of the components of the S-300, but the delivery hasn't been completed. We've suspended it for now. But if we see that steps are taken that violate existing international norms, we'll think about how we should act in the future, in particular regarding supplying such sensitive weapons to certain regions of the world.
So the president speaking a lot on the topic of Syria and reiterating the fact that they don't want the West to get involved, making any hasty judgments.
Well, Syria isn't the only subject poisoning relations between the two countries right now, Sean. I mean, is it?
Well, no, the two countries have had, well, let's say there's been troubles with the now famous reset. One of the topics is Edward Snowden. The president did have some choice words to say about that. He said that U.S. intelligence messed up their efforts to try and capture Snowden, saying that they could have allowed him to travel to a country where his security was not ensured, or they could have just intercepted him mid-air, but instead they blocked access and stopped his travel, which was a mistake on their part. He did say that Snowden was in touch with Russian officials as far back as Hong Kong, but The president himself did not know that Snowden was en route to Russia until 2 hours before that flight landed. He also said that he is not working with, or that Snowden is not working with Russian security officials inside the country, although Russia did grant him temporary asylum. And although since Snowden has been inside Russia, his visit has been shrouded in secrecy. So the president kind of toying with what is going on in the Snowden world as well.
Sean Thomas, thank you very much.